back to Towering Pines for another edition of Progress at the Pines!
Welcome back to another installment in our Progress at the Pines series. So right now we're giving you an overview of kind of the whole garden. You can see that we've finished installing the fence for the most part, but we'll go ahead and walk down to the garden and talk about the one thing we have left to do. So our long-term plan is to have a gate right here, so that right as we come down these steps, we'll be able to go right into what will be the food forest part of our garden. But in the meantime, until we figure out exactly how we're going to make that gate, we just haven't pounded this post in, so we can pull it out, walk around like that to get in. Oh, there's a butterfly.
Here we are in the garden, and as you can see, one of our big successes has been our sunflowers, which we have multiple different ones blooming. They're gorgeous. This particular variety is called the Lemon Queen, and is supposed to attract bees. So it is great to see it doing so well.
What did we see earlier?
We saw a hummingbird at the sunflower pollinating it, getting some nectar. It was pretty cool. Yep, that was just before we started filming this actually. So down here we have some peas, which we were hoping to have climb them. They are struggling a bit to actually climb up it, and a couple over here, their sunflower unfortunately got snapped, so they don't really have anything to climb, so I don't know how these two will do. But our mom has been working to help train them up the stems, and they appear to be doing a little better. They're not flying down flat anymore. We also have our spinach here, which has been eaten a bit by the bugs, but is working fairly well. It's a little bit more bitter than we were expecting. We're not sure why, but yeah. We've still been able to use it in some different recipes, and we're hoping to try some other varieties too, maybe some fall and winter varieties, and hopefully they will taste slightly less bitter. So over here in this box we have our marigolds, which still have not, there's some buds, still no flowers yet. We're hoping to have some flowers
Big bud.
soon.
Pretty big bud right there.
But you may notice that we had some cucumbers which were doing very well back here. They are no longer there. They grew, they were quite big. We have a video where we harvest our first cucumbers. We got a few pretty good cucumbers out of it. However, we had quite a few unfortunate things happen, including a deer attack which devoured several of the leaves and some of the cucumber, some yellowish mold that we had issues with, and then finally we had some bugs get into several of the cucumbers, and eventually the plant basically just was dead. It wasn't producing any more cucumbers, and we had to take it out. But we did get a few tasty cucumbers out of it before then. And over here we have two new garden beds that we built. We built them pretty much the same as those other two, and we have started filling them. This one we are filling halfway with wood chips, and then we will add our soil on top. This one we are actually filling basically the entire box with the soil mix, because we intend to use this for some deeper root crops, things like potatoes and carrots, because they can't grow well if they're hitting wood chips, but other plants don't really need this deep soil, so this box will be especially for that. We are planning to do a lot more planting in both of these boxes, and also in some of the empty space we have in those boxes very soon. We've already planted a couple things in that box over there, because we live in Georgia, so we have a nice long growing season. We still have quite a bit of time before the first frost, which is the cutoff point for a lot of plants. So there's still plenty of time to plant new things and we're really excited to start working on that, and we'll have a video on that hopefully
Whoa,
soon.
look at this. Look at this. Alright, so over here we have our zucchini, which unfortunately is not looking very good. We had a zucchini over in the fourth bed, and it was doing pretty good. It was growing fast and healthy, and all of a sudden it started rotting, and we had to take it out. And we found a bunch of holes in the stem, so we think bugs infested it. We think it was a bug called the squash spore, and these ones have been growing for a little while now, and they started looking pretty bad and rotting a bit. So we're thinking that more of the squash spores are getting into it. And weirdly though, over here the zucchini it sent out runners, and over here, as you can see, it looks really healthy right here, and then in the middle it looks pretty bad and rotted. So we're gonna let this one grow for now and see what happens, because unfortunately we haven't gotten a single zucchini yet. So hopefully maybe we'll get a zucchini. We're holding out to see, and we'll see if we get one. And now over here we have our watermelon, which has just taken off everywhere. It's our biggest plant in the garden. It's actually 3 different plants which have kind of blended together, and now it looks like one huge watermelon plant. And so far we have 3 different watermelon that we know of. I'm sure there are more hiding. It's kind of hard to tell, but we have our first one right here, which is I'm pretty sure this is our biggest one. As you can see, this specific type of variety we got is called a Jubilee, and they're the kind that grow longer in their shape instead of round like a normal watermelon. So more of a like sphere or cylinder shape. And then we have another one over here, and unfortunately it looks like this one isn't really gonna make it. It's turning black and looking yellow, and it looks like there's a bit of shriveling at the stem, so unfortunately it doesn't look like it could work. And then we have, and I just found a new one right here as well. So just keep coming now. We're just gonna keep finding more and more. And then I know there was another one over here somewhere hiding. But yeah, that's about it for the water. We also have a bunch of bees, wasps, and hornets buzzing around in here, pollinating. It's kind of scary because you don't know where they are, so you don't want to go like walking into it. And then now over here we planted more cucumbers. We did 2 jabais. Well, we have 4 jabais on this side, and we're hoping this trellis, we're using the fence as a trellis, and we're hoping that will work better than our last trellis, because when we did, we had a lot of trouble with the cucumbers getting onto the trellis, and we had to like do all this propping up and stuff, and it was a lot of work. So hopefully they're much closer, and the trellis is right there. This one isn't looking so good, unfortunately. So yeah, we have, and then we have Jabai Shimura. I can't pronounce.
Jabai Shimashirazu.
Yeah, Jabai.
It's a Japanese variety.
Yeah, but these ones are the biggest right here. And unfortunately, it looks like we have bugs that have been nibbling on it, and we're a bit worried about that because it's looking a little bit like what happened to the other cucumbers. So hopefully, we'll be able to deal with it.
And we had a special request from one of our subscribers, M.I. Insane, and he wanted an update on how the compost is going. So early on, we did manage to get the side that we were blending up the food scraps and that with, and tearing up all the browns. We did manage to get that cooking, so it was up I think like 110 degrees or something like that. So it was doing kind of the hot composting. Unfortunately, I think what happened is like the food was too finely ground and it started getting anaerobic. It couldn't get enough oxygen in there, even with turning it and that sort of thing. So we've kind of we've stopped the blending. We're just kind of adding stuff as we have time. We've gotten busy with other things in the garden. So right now we're just kind of filling it and just letting it slowly turn to soil. It's slowly getting there, but it's not happening as fast as it could if we were able to get that hot composting going. Over here you can see it's easy to come by food scraps. Sometimes it's harder to get the browns you need to get that right mix. So we put some of our extra wood chips down here. Our neighbor was getting rid of some yard waste at the curb, so I just asked him if I could take his bags. So we got some extra pine needles and branches and stuff like that, leaves that we can throw in there to try and even out the balance more. And that's the update on our composting.
So this is our newest addition to Towering Pines Garden, and it's also our first tree. This is a Meyer lemon tree, and citrus actually do not grow natively in Zone 7B, where we are here in North Georgia. So in order for this to survive, it cannot be planted outside in our garden. It's going to have to be planted in a pot. During the summer and the warm season, it will stay outdoors, and then once we get farther into the fall where the temperature starts falling below 50 degrees at night, then we'll start bringing the pot in at night. So we've had this for 2 weeks. It was a surprise birthday present from my brother and sister-in-law. Shout out to them and their garden up in New England. And we are about to transplant it now to its new pot. Okay, so when you are transplanting a tree like a lemon tree, it's important that you don't get too big of a pot right away. You want to generally double the size of the pot that it was in previously. So we have done that here based on their recommendations. This is a 10-gallon pot, and they say not to go any bigger than that, at least for now. And since we're going to be taking this in and out of the house, we don't want it to be huge and gigantic. The other thing is, if you're going to be taking a plant in and out of your house, you want like a lightweight plastic type of pot. You don't want one of those giant terracotta pots because they weigh a ton, or one of those fancy glazed stone pots. Not only do they weigh a ton, but they also can absorb the heat a lot faster, dry out the soil, and make it so that your tree gets deprived of water a lot more. And the same goes for the color of the pot. You don't want a black pot because, again, it will absorb the heat. So we're going to we have our soil in here, and then we have a special citrus mix of fertilizer. Ooh, buddy, pull the tree up, don't fall over. And we're actually going to plant some of these granules in here with the tree. Every other time that we do this, it will get mixed in with water and on the top. So this is the one time that the tree actually gets the fertilizer directly on the roots. We have pre-mixed soil. You can find recipes for citrus soil online, we're using the soil mix that we've made here with a variety of different things that we use. With lemon trees, it's important. Yes, there's an airplane. It's important that you have nitrogen-rich soil and fertilizers. So that's something to take into consideration, and you don't want it to have too much moisture in it as well. You want it to drain easily, because if with certain trees and plants, if you have soil that holds too much water, then it can rot the roots. So we're just gonna finish putting the soil in around our tree. Oh, hold it up right more, buddy. There you go. And then when we're done, we actually have a hydrometer, which is a meter that measures how moist the soil is. And with our Lisbon lemon tree, you want to water it when the meter reads 4, which is 40% moisture, and you want to get it up to about a 9, which is 90% moisture. So on average, they say that'll be about once a week, but when you're inside during the winter, it probably doesn't need to be watered as much. And if you're outside on a really hot day in a hot climate, you may need to water it more than once a week, so it just depends. And there we are. There is our first tree, the lemon tree. Let's hope it grows. Finally, we're going to give you a quick update on our wisteria, the non-edible part of our garden currently. When I planted these a couple years ago, we weren't sure if they were going to take off or not, and this year they have gone crazy. But if you look carefully, you can see that the stems are wrapping themselves around the fence, and eventually they will become so strong they will destroy the fence. So we have a plan in place to actually cut these down this fall after they've died back, and we are going to replant about 2 feet in front of them and train them up a pole, and we'll have a trellis that they'll go out of. We are trying to propagate the wisteria so that we don't have to buy new plants. I did a bunch of research and we tried some different methods. The first method is in soil, and it said it was important for it to be warm and moist. Well, during this time it was very hot and we had a lot of rain, and this is what we got here is a bunch of dead sticks. So that did not work for us at this time. Fortunately, we did do some cuttings, which we put indoors in a sunny location just directly in water, and as you can see here, these are all still alive. This one even has new growth on it. These are new leaves that sprouted since it was inside, and if you look, the bottoms look a little, some of them, if you look in the water, it looks a little bit fuzzy, and those are new roots forming on it, which is great and exactly what we want to see. So we're hoping that we will be able to grow some new wisteria plants from this. Also, if you look up here, you will see the seed pods that we have. These are very soft. They feel like velvet. They have large seeds in them, but these are not ready to be harvested until the fall. So in a few weeks, we will harvest some of the seed pods and try saving the seeds and see if we can plant any wisteria plants from seeds. So that'll be another way that we'll try. So thanks for watching, and be sure and check out our new Instagram account on towering.pines. We are working on getting frequent, if not daily, updates on the Instagram account, and I believe there is a pretty funny blooper reel coming on that account soon as well.